Hey adventurers, I'm Kate and today I'm going to be talking about different ways to read material. So I'm going to be talking about three main sources for reading, so that's hard copy, audiobook, and ebook. So hard copy is what I'm starting out with, and I've broken this down into pros and cons. So pros for a hard copy are the aesthetic of it. People just like to read a real book, and that makes a lot of sense, and people understand that, So there's that. It's a huge pro for it. The other pro, in my opinion, is that there's no distractions in comparison to like an ebook or even an audiobook where you can do multiple things. This book is just for reading. Like, that's it. You're open, you're reading, that's what you're doing. There's limited distractions in that sense. And then lastly, on the pro list, these are pretty short, so I'm not gonna hopefully take too long with this. Lastly on the pro list is that you can see visible progress. And this is different for each of the mediums. You can see visible progress in a different way. This one, so I'm going to take my Zorro book I have here. You can see, okay, I'm a quarter of the way through the book. I'm halfway through the book. Oh look, I'm almost done with the book, and that type of progress. But you don't know exactly. Like, you could be halfway through the book, read 50 pages, and still be only halfway through the book because you weren't actually before. So it's not always as easy as that sounds. It's as in you can see that visible progress, but sometimes it's really nice where you start reading and you read a chunk and you're like, oh wow, I made progress. I can see it in the, where my bookmark's sitting now. And then the cons for this is that visible progress, just like I said, not being able to know exactly where you are. Like, you have an idea, sure, you can count pages, you could count chapters, whatever you need to do, but it's not always consistent, and I don't take the time to count chapters typically. Like, I might look once, okay, there's 69 chapters in this book, got it. But I'm not going to really pay close attention to that. If I have a hard copy, I'm going to be looking at how far along am I actually in this book. Another con is that if you're bored with reading, sometimes sitting still is really hard. If you're bored with that, sitting still for a hard copy of a book can be really challenging. Maybe you just need to be moving, maybe you've been sitting all day already and that's just not for you. So that would be a con in this situation. And the last is physical size. Some books are great, so take like Stephen King, The Mist. When I read this, it fits in your purse so easily. My purse, I guess, not your purse. My book, guys. Very easy, very portable. Where the Zorro book that I just showed y'all was too big for my purse, and I've stuffed big books in my purse before and it ends up warping them, and it's really frustrating when you get your book back and you're like, oh, I shifted everything. It's really because you cram it in there because you want to take it with you. So portability is hit or miss with books. If you have a really thick tome, good luck getting that into your book. Moving on to audiobooks. So for pros for audiobooks, it's hands-free, so you can do other things. Maybe you can do chores, you can do just day-to-day tasks, and it's really nice because it keeps you occupied while, like, okay, maybe you're doing dishes, you can listen to your audiobook while you're doing dishes. That is really always fun. It makes a not so fun experience more fun. So audiobooks are great for that reason. They're hands-free. They're great for multitasking. You can accomplish a lot of things. You can still make progress on your story, and you feel very productive. I feel very productive when I read and accomplish physical chores or whatnot. Another pro, and I think it is a pro, is that it gives you a different story experience. So I've read Little Women, the hard copy, twice, and I've listened to an audiobook once. And I got more out of the book, or different things out of the book with the hard copy, with the audiobook, than I did with the 2 times I read the hard copy. So you might pick up more small details and whatnot. Cons for audiobooks are they are really easy to zone out during, especially with certain narrators. They become almost background noise, or if you're listening to a really long book, maybe it doesn't interest you, it can be super easy to just zone off, be in your own thoughts, and look back and be like, oh no, I don't know where I zoned out, so I can't go back. Or I could, but you're gonna have to go way back to try and catch up to where you are. That's always frustrating. I do that a lot. And it's something I try and work on, where if I am zoning out, just pause the book, let my mind wander if I have to, but don't miss out on the story. And then also the cons are the narrator's voices can be really influential, so whether it's if they're dramatizing more, that can be good or it can be bad. I know I recently mentioned this because I read Aragon partially on hard copy and then I switched to an audiobook because I wanted to make some consistent progress and I had a really busy week. So my plan was to just listen to the audiobook, but I found that the voices I created for the characters in my head were different than what the narrator was saying. And I ended up really liking how the narrator portrayed the story and the characters through his voice and through his telling of the story, but it took me a while to get used to that. Another problem with audiobooks, especially with fantasy or just different cultures, is names are different, and it can be hard when you're trying to revert back to nonverbal communication, or rather, nonverbal communication, written communication, and to bring up names because you don't know how they're spelled. There's fantasy names are weird. People from different cultures. I mean, I live in America, pretty generic names here, so that type of thing. And then lastly, for audiobooks, there's two options here. There's DVD, or CD rather, I guess, and then there's the digital version. So DVDs, you don't have to worry about downloading something onto your device or maybe having a Wi-Fi connection if you're streaming that audiobook. With a DVD, it's nice to be able to listen to any place with a DVD player. So I know when I first got my car, I couldn't hook my phone to the speakers and I couldn't play the volume loud enough on my phone so I could be able to hear my audiobook with the fan blowing because it was 30 below. I gotta have heat on in my car. And so there was some challenges there, and it would have been really nice to have a CD. But with digital stories, there is that fact where if anytime you have a Bluetooth connection, you can pretty much hook that up and have really great sound, along with the pro that you can double speed on digital. And this is what sells it for me. I've gone to the library and thought, oh, I should get this audiobook on CD, and then I realized I can't double speed this, I can't 1.5 speed it. It's not a good option for me because that's a huge reason why I listen to audiobooks when I'm trying to make progress. It's a toss-up, but those are some of the pros and cons for audiobooks. So ebooks, and this list is going to be a little bit biased just because my pros are reflecting of my personality and of my opinions, of course, my pros and cons. So for pros, I have, you can see visible progress in a different way. So we talked about how you can look at the book or even count chapters or whatnot. With an ebook, a lot of times it'll give you page numbers and or percentages. I found this and I really love it when it tells me, hey, you're 17% of the way through your book, or you're 69% of the way through your book. And I'm like, aha, I can incorporate that percentage into my visual in my head of the visual picture I have of my book and find that halfway mark, and it works really well for me. So that's really nice to have those percentages. Portability is a huge thing. People take their phones with them just about everywhere, and your phone's usually going to fit in your purse. You're not going to have problems with giant books trying to shove them in your purse. A phone you usually have on you, it's just there all the time. So having that book there all the time can be really cool, and I did find the couple times where I've spent some time reading ebooks, I found that I get more reading done where I wouldn't have picked up a hard copy. So I'll pull up my phone and be like, let's open Kindle instead of Instagram. And then I make progress, and I didn't realize I had 20-minute wait, but I did, and then I read 20 minutes of my book. So sometimes it's easier. My phone does draw me in, and so staring at a screen can be appealing for a certain amount of time, and so that'll keep me reading for a little bit. And moving right into cons here, the problem with being drawn into your phone is that there's also distractions. I get a notification, I'm gonna look off from my book to check that, and then I can be lost in the world of virtual life, and it'll be gone. That's it for the reading. So there's a lot of digital distractions I find when reading an ebook, which aren't always appreciated with me. I find that it's easier to have a hard copy where I can set my phone aside and say, okay, I'm going to read for a while. Another con would be blue light exposure if you're trying to eliminate that. I know a lot of times people really recommend eliminating blue light exposure and electronics stimulation before you try and go to sleep, and I like to read before I go to sleep. So reading on a phone isn't a great option for me in that sense, or reading on an electronic device. I guess it doesn't have to be your phone. Those are cons for me. And then once again, screen time. If that's something you're trying to be diligent about, not letting your phone suck away your life, because that's easy to happen. This does up your screen time a lot, and like I said, there's those distractions, so maybe you'll get distracted and you'll go back to reading, but fact is you've been on your phone for a long time at that point, where I feel, typically personally, I feel way more productive when I set my phone aside and I can actually get something done in the real world, if you will. So that's, those are my thoughts on different media intakes, some pros and cons. I want to know what you guys think about these and what your favorite one is to read. So I didn't actually mention what my favorite option was here, but that's okay, because I have different feelings and I do all of it. I do hard books, I do audiobooks, and I do ebooks. Just depends on my mood, what's going on in my life at the time. Thank you all for watching an Erudite adventure. If you like this video, please give it a like and let me know down below what your thoughts are on this topic. Thanks for watching. Stay warm.